the new video. On today's video, we got a special guest. We got Nate Atkins. What's up, Nate?
Hey, Chase. Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Nate is a good friend of mine from back at Wesleyan. Is when I first met him through FCA, and then just still kind of known him throughout the years. And Nate actually currently works at Nike Headquarters. So, Nate, do you want to talk a little bit about what you do and kind of what that entails?
Yeah, for sure. So, as Chase mentioned, went to Wesleyan. After Wesleyan, very fortunate to get a job out here in Portland, Oregon with Nike. And what I do is actually a little bit of everything in that I'm a part of a rotational program that rotates to different functions within Nike. So that can be anything from innovation to brand marketing to supply chain to technology. And so it allows me, as someone kind of fresh out of school, young in my career, an opportunity to see a lot of things, get to know the business. Something I've really enjoyed, just being an athlete and having a passion for sport. And I think during my rotations, I always come back to product and always love talking about product. So Chase, thanks for reaching out. Love to talk some running shoes with you.
Let's go. Yeah, I'm excited to get into it because, to be honest, I'm pretty clueless when it comes to shoes, and I know that's something that I definitely would probably benefit from. So, do you kind of want to start with just kind of like the basics of like what goes, like where do you guys start when designing a shoe?
For sure. So I think for us, it really starts with the athlete. What are they telling us that they want? What are they telling us that we can improve upon? What are they telling us that, hey, you're doing this really well, keep doing it? And that is really the starting point for all of our shoes, whether that's a brand new shoe that we've never done before, or that's a shoe like the Pegasus that's on its 37th model. We've been making it for the last 37 years, and we're always trying to make it better and improve on it. And that really starts with the athlete and the consumer who provides us insight and feedback.
That's awesome. So kind of to get more of like a detailed perspective on that, could you kind of go through one of the shoes that you brought and kind of talk through like what went into making it?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I have today is this guy right here. It's called the Nike Infinity React. And for the last, I'd say like maybe 4 or 5 years, us as a running company really tried to push the envelope on making runners go faster. So you saw shoes like the Vaporfly Next Percent, the Alpha Fly, Pegasus Turbo, all designed to help runners go faster, set PRs, things like that. But what we heard from athletes, kind of as I mentioned earlier, who is our starting point? Athletes are. What they told us is that running fast is only part of the equation. The other thing that's always worrying runners is getting injured. And so we, as a footwear company, never really thought of a shoe that could reduce injury. And as we looked around the marketplace at other competitors and even internally at shoes that we had, we saw that there really wasn't a scientific proven shoe or proven way to reduce injury. And so that's what really got kind of the gears turning in our head. And that's really what we start with any kind of big project like this is, what's our moonshot? What's something that hasn't been done before? And how do we get to that, North Star? And for us, this is kind of the first step on that journey of how do we help runners reduce injury?
Very cool. So what goes into that shoe that may be different from shoes that you guys have had in the past?
Yeah, for sure. So this Infinity React shoe is actually the next evolution to what a lot of people may recognize as this guy, which is the Nike React Flyknit. And so the differences here between the two shoes is that so you'll see with these two shoes here, the Infinity React has a very pronounced kind of rocker shape to it. And it also has a lot more foam. So the Infinity React itself actually has 24% more foam right here in the midsole. It's still the same React foam, which is Nike likes to think of it as kind of that perfect balance between bounciness and soft cushioned ride, I should say. And so the foam in combination with the rocker, meaning it helps you transition smoothly from heel to toe. And then finally, the last thing that really differentiates this shoe from this guy is it's actually slightly wider. So when you look at the width of the shoe, we found that by making the shoe wider, you can actually dissipate the forces that are being pushed into it. So think as a runner, with each step that you take, usually you're exerting 3 to 4 times your body weight in any given downward step. So if you weigh 100 pounds, you're actually exerting force into the ground that's maybe 300 to 400 pounds. And so by expanding the platform that you're landing on, it helps dissipate kind of those forces. So it's not all focused in one area. It can actually kind of spread out. And so by doing that, it helps alleviate some of the, the muscle and tendon strain that would be prevalent in a traditional, kind of running shoe.
Interesting. So now kind of like playing maybe devil's advocate, would there be any sort of like problems that there could be with adding more foam to the shoe?
So good question. We actually did experiment, what is our limit? You could come in with, a really thick, 6-inch, stack height meaning, how thick is this midsole here? For guys like me, who's always, looking to boost a few inches on the height and weight, it'd be a good thing. But for actual functional use, probably not the best, because we found as you increase that height of the shoe, it actually makes it slightly more unstable. So think it's almost kind of like jelly or jello, maybe is a better analogy. Is you grow that width of the jello, it starts to get a little bit shaky, a little bit uneven the higher you go with it. Same thing with a running shoe. It won't be as secure and as supportive as a lower stack shoe that will allow you to turn and to really dictate where are you going next on your run.
Cool. And now with this shoe, could you run it? Is it more like geared towards longer distances, or is it more of like a short distance type of shoe?
Yeah, so I would say, at least in personal experience, I love using it for longer distances. It can definitely be used for your track workouts and 5K races because of that bouncy React foam. But it's a great kind of start to finish shoe, no matter if you're looking for a 3-mile racing shoe or a 20-mile long run shoe for marathon training. It's a real good workhorse, I'd say.
So now if you're looking at an athlete too, are they going to be wearing that shoe 100% of the time for all their workouts? Or would there ever be a time where you maybe like shift and use a different shoe here for a different thing you're doing, or different workout here?
Yeah, for sure. So in my experience and what I've seen, with some of our professional athletes who we work with, is this shoe, and then also just any of your running shoes should be, think of it as part of your toolkit. So you can use this shoe or really any of the other, Nike running shoes of a Pegasus or, a Pegasus Turbo, things like that, as kind of your everyday trainers. Then you can also use a Vaporfly Next Percent as your racing shoe. Transition even further, you can use a Joyride running shoe as your kind of recovery shoe to help you feel fresh after those either hard track workouts or maybe those long races or long training runs. So not really sure if it answers your question entirely, but I would say it should be a part of kind of your broader toolkit of running shoes that you incorporate for different workouts and for different use cases. And by doing that, I know definitely from experience, especially, balling on the college budget, I couldn't afford, 5 different running shoes for all of the different, types of workouts I was doing. But I know that at least having two different pairs that you could rotate between, and provide not only yourself a different experience and a different cushioning experience, but also giving your shoes a chance to breathe and kind of recover a little bit, because your shoes did get beaten up just from all that pounding. And so by being able to rotate between pairs, it actually helps extend the life of both of the shoes.
Continuing on with what you were saying with like the testing they did and stuff like that, with the study that they did involve like different athletes from like different ages, or is it all professional athletes?
Right. So good question. So with this study, I keep mentioning, we've scientifically proven it can reduce injury, but what does that mean? And so for us, we actually took a group of over 200 runners, mixed between female and male athletes of all abilities, whether that's your first time runner to your experienced marathoner, and gave them a half marathon training plan to use. But the kind of testing that we did is split the group in half and gave one half the Nike Zoom Structure, which is this guy here, traditionally viewed as a very supportive motion control shoe, and then gave the other half of runners the Infinity React shoe. And we tested for pain perception during training. So if an athlete missed 3 days in a row of training due to a running related injury, or that pain, that's what we were looking for. And so the results is that we actually found a 52% reduction in running related injuries in the runners that used Infinity React when compared to the Structure shoe.
Interesting.
And so that probably,
go
ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to say, so that probably brings up the question of, well, does that make the Structure a bad shoe? And so for us, what we found is that for the longest time, motion control was thought to be the thing that prevented injury in running shoes. Whether it's us, whether it's any of our competitors, we thought that being able to control the rollover process of your ankle, or kind of your pronation, so think how much your ankle naturally rolls in during the running gait process. If you can control that, you can control injury. But as we've seen, nobody's really been able to, crack the nut, so to speak, on how we can reduce injury. We can control, or we can reduce motion, but that has been shown, that doesn't necessarily mean you're reducing the injury associated with it. So that was, I think, kind of the biggest breakthrough for us with this guy, was that, hey, if you have a Structure and you have, a shoe that works for you, and it is a motion control shoe, meaning one that provides, the arch support and the pronation support, and it works, that's awesome. Like, keep using it. I think for us, it's just more of a kind of an additional tool in our toolbox, like I like to say, that you can use this guy as well. And there's been research behind it to support kind of that injury reduction claim.
So that shoe you could still like mix in with your training, you think?
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think the biggest recommendation I think I give a lot of either first-time runners or people who come to me and ask, what's the best running shoe? What's your favorite running shoe? And I always tell them, my running shoe is not going to be the same as Chase's running shoe, is not going to be the same as anyone else's, because we all have different preferences. I may like a soft shoe. You may like a bouncy shoe. Someone else may like something that's right in the middle, Mm-hmm. And so the biggest thing I can recommend is for people to go out and try them. I know Nike and a lot of the other footwear manufacturers have pretty generous trial options and return options. So get out, use them, go for multiple runs in them, see what you like, and really start to kind of build your toolkit of different shoes that you can use as you go down your running journey.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And now yesterday, or a couple of days ago, you showed me an awesome video that kind of went along with the making of this shoe. So do you want to get into that? And then after that, we'll maybe go through some of the like Instagram poll questions that we had.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to share my screen here momentarily. And then as Chase has given me the control rights to share my screen, what you're going to see in the video here is kind of the behind the scenes of what went into making the Nike Infinity React, and what our thought process was while we were designing and making the shoe.
Injury is the worst thing for an athlete. It's a nightmare.
It's awful, heartbreaking.
You lose a little bit of yourself.
I feel like something is missing.
It's an emotional drain on the body as well.
Our job is to always understand the runner and listen to the runner, but also being able to measure them objectively. So the North Star for us is ultimately to try and move the needle in terms of how we reduce the risk of injury. People have been trying to solve running-related injuries for a long time. Nobody's cracked the nut, so to speak. One of the ways motion control works is to control pronation, and pronation is a natural motion of the foot during the rollover process. It's been assumed that that leads to injuries, so the goal has been in running shoe product creation for a long time, well, if we control pronation, we will control injuries, but it's certainly not one size fits all. There's lots of ways we've done this in the past. We've actually been successful. We know how to change pronation with motion control shoes, but we haven't made the link to say that actually reduces injury, and the reality is it hasn't. The first thing we looked at with the shoe was the cushioning. We used our React foam, which is incredibly soft, but it's also incredibly durable. To make the shoe more stable, we had to look at the width of the shoe, look at how wide we could go. The last thing we looked at on the midsole is the rocker, or the rollover point on a midsole, we call it. You want a shoe that has incredibly smooth transition or ride. So once you feel that you've designed and built a shoe that meets the requirements we were looking for, the next step is to put it through paces with real runners and see if we're actually changing injuries. And to do that, we partnered with Dr. Michael Ryan at the British Columbia Sport Medicine Research Foundation.
This is the largest prospective running injury study that we've ever done. There's lots of definitions of injury. The one that we use in the study is if you miss 3 consecutive workouts due to running-related pain. Over a 12-week period, we tested 226 runners, half in the Nike React Infinity Run and half in the Nike Structure 22, to see whether there was a difference in injury rates and pain perception between these shoes. Runners trained for a half marathon using a variable training program that involves mixing up both the distance and speed of the workouts.
The result that was incredible for all of us was that the runners, both males and females who ran in the Infinity shoe, sustained 52% fewer injuries than the same cohort that ran in the Structure. It clearly shows that we are on the right track, and it's a great first step on our journey to that North Star of no runner should get injured.
If I didn't have to worry about injury, I'd just run for miles and miles and miles.
A world without injury is the world where you can achieve success.
Crossing the finish line healthy is just so incredible.
At the end of the day, we're always trying to make athletes better, and part of being better is not being hurt.
That was awesome. I think that that covered kind of a lot of what what you were talking about before, but just like gives you the full like overall view of everything that kind of went into it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those kind of almost goosebump type films. You're like, all right, I'm ready to charge through a brick wall right now.
Yeah. But it's so true too, though. Like the main reason, or the main thing that I'm looking for out of like anything I use is like, for example, athletes wanting to train or with the equipment or uniform, shoes, stuff like that, is just to reduce injury. So if you're injured, you're no good. You can't do anything. So that's kind of plays a huge factor in it. So it's cool that you guys have done something that's really like taking a look at that. But
Should we dive into some questions? I'm kind of interested to see what people had to say. It's probably about to get grilled right now.
Well, let's do it. All right, let's see. Alrighty. First question I got for you. Some of these are just like basic shoe questions, and then some are specifically to the shoe. All right. First question is, what happens if you run without proper running shoes?
Oh man, that's a really good question. So I'll start with, I'm not a medical expert, and you should definitely consult your doctor before doing any type of physical activity, just to make sure I don't get sued after this video. But what are things that can happen? So it can really span the gamut from hardly noticeable to extreme. Hardly noticeable can be, hey, I have tight hamstrings after a run, or maybe I have some calf tightness. Something that's a little bit indisguisable between, was it a running shoe problem or was it a knee problem and I just don't stretch enough? It could really be both. And then on the flip side, what's the other end of that extreme? Stress fractures, more serious injuries that can result from having the improper footwear for your type of running style and your type of body mechanics, things like that. So to better understand what type of shoe is best for me, I definitely recommend checking out your local running shops, whether it's Fleet Feet or Naperville Running Company, things like that. There's local running stores, because they can do all sorts of analysis, and they get out the iPads and the pressure sensors and things like that, and they can really give you some good educated advice and recommendations on different types of footwear that would be best for you.
Awesome. All right, next one we got for you. How often should I be getting new running shoes?
That's a great question that I actually get way more than you would expect, even from like people at Nike. They're like, Nate, how long should I use these for? And the response I always give is that you got to listen to your body. So technically, usually 350 to 500 miles on any given pair of running shoes is kind of the usable life, so to speak. And after that time, you may start to feel the foam isn't as snappy, it's not as responsive. It may not feel as cushioned as it once did. It may feel kind of flat. You'll hear that term a lot. My shoes feel flat, or they feel like they're dead. That just means they don't feel as responsive, or maybe not as cushioned as they once did. Personally, I found I can honestly get 500 to 600 out of my shoes. And the way I kind of tell that is when I start to get little twinges of, calf pain or knee pain that I know regularly don't happen. But maybe I've had shoes for a long period of time, and I'll go back and kind of look in my Nike Run Club app and see, oh man, these shoes, I've been using them for the last 650 miles. Like, it's probably time to get some new shoes. So that's also a good way to know as well, and to keep track of it. In the Run Club app with Nike, you can tag your shoes and say, okay, I've run 80 miles in these shoes and 50 miles in that second pair of shoes that I've been rotating in between. So definitely a good best practice, I would say, just to have a feel for how many miles are getting put on your shoes. But at the end of the day, if you don't have an app, don't have a way of keeping track, just listen to your body, know what feels normal to you, and know what feels, that doesn't feel too right. And odds are, if you look at the tread of your shoes and see that they're pretty worn out, probably time for a new pair.
Awesome. All right, next one for you. This one you may know what this one means, but the next one says, what are the benefits of a neutral type of running shoe?
Yeah, so to educate everyone else who doesn't know what neutral means. I didn't when I first started at Nike, so it's definitely okay. Neutral means a shoe that doesn't offer any of that motion control that I mentioned earlier. So if someone says, I run in a supportive shoe, or, hey, I'm looking to buy a supportive shoe, usually that means it has a lot of arch support. It has a lot of motion control that helps you from rolling in your ankle too much. And so with a neutral shoe, that basically means, you don't have as much arch support, and there's usually not any type of foam or post, like medial post here, to keep you from rolling in too much. Just think of it as kind of the natural, you're running straight ahead. There's no like outward rotation. There's no inward rotation. It's just how it was meant to be. And so the benefits, it's a little tough to say, because it's really more so what's the best type of shoe for you. Because for me, I know a neutral shoe is good because I don't need the extra support from rolling in, and I don't need the extra arch support. For someone else, they may need that extra arch support to support their feet. If they have, a different arch alignment or a different body mechanics while running. So it's really more so what is the right type of shoe for you. And once you find that out between, structure and the motion control shoes, the neutral shoes, and even some of the more minimalist shoes like a Nike Free, then you'll be able to see, okay, what are the shoes in this range that can give me the most benefit for what I'm using it for. Like in the neutral shoe category, I'd like to say that pretty much across the board, whether it's at Nike or other brands, you'll be able to find shoes that give you those benefits that you're looking for. It's just a matter of finding which kind of product silo of shoes that fit you best.
Cool. Learned something new today. All right. This is the next one. All right. So I'm about to purchase a new pair of running shoes for my triathlon. Sell me on these shoes.
Oh boy. I feel like this is a scene out of a movie where you hand me a pen and it's like, hey, sell me this pen. Oh man, this is a tough one, to be honest. I don't know. I mean, I kind of go back to what I said earlier about, testing out shoes, trying them in your daily life, how you would actually use them. And I think that's definitely a place to start with these guys, in that, buy them, try them out. I think right now it's like a 60-day return policy. When we're filming this video, it may change in the future, but that's really meant for you as the athlete to get out, do track workouts in them, do long runs in them, even just, walk around in the mall in them, see how you like them, see what you like, see what you don't like, see how the size fits, things like that. And that's really the best, I guess, maybe sales pitch. I don't know if it even is a sales pitch, to be honest. I think it's more of you got to try it before you know if you like it or not, because, my type of running shoe is different from yours, which is different from everybody else's. So it's really just personal preference on what you like and what you're looking for.
All right. Next one. This one we kind of already got, but I don't know if your answer would be any different. But how many miles is the life of this shoe good for? Is that kind of the same deal? Like,
a little bit. It's actually funny because the regular Nike React Flyknit, the shoe that was kind of evolved, or this shoe was kind of evolved from, we've actually been able to increase the amount of miles that you can put on this guy when compared to this one. So this, like I said, was really more maybe 250 to 300. This one's more 350 to 450. So just improvements in technology. And like I said earlier, it's really just about listening to your body and knowing, what feels normal on any given day with a run, and what feels a little bit out of place. When's the last time I bought some running shoes? And odds are it might have been a while, so it might be time to grab some new ones.
Awesome. Next one, not a question. This person said, not a question, but I have these shoes and I love them. I plan on buying another pair. So there you go.
Love it. Got someone supporting it already.
Let's see what else we got. And then another question, how long should you actually keep a pair of running shoes? So that's probably the most common one. I actually got that quite a few times. So I think that was the main thing regarding the shoe. But any closing thoughts, Nate, on the shoe or anything else?
Oh man, I think Matt in the video, Matt Nurse, said it best in that this is kind of step one on our journey with injury prevention. So you'll be seeing more to come from us. I'll leave a little teaser at that. I can't give away too much, but this is just the start in the journey, and we've so far been super excited about the results and just seeing the reaction from athletes who in the past had been bogged down with injuries or maybe even had trouble coming back from an injury. And this platform and this shoe has been able to help them. And at the end of the day, we're trying to make runners better. And this is one way that we're doing that.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, Nate. That was like super, super insightful and definitely learned a lot with shoes. So definitely be putting the knowledge to use.
Absolutely. Looking forward to hopefully doing it again. So
yeah, if anyone has any recommendations for some more shoes to do in the future, definitely let me know. Or if you want to let Nate know too, you can hit him up as well and let him know, and we'll definitely try to cover it. But thanks again, Nate, and thank you everyone for tuning in. Appreciate you guys.